A hot, long day, but I apologize ahead of time. All right, 6 o'clock. The reporter is going. Welcome everybody here tonight for this special meeting on July 29th, 2026 at 6 p.m. Appreciate all the council members being here. I'm going to lead us in a word of prayer. Our most kind and gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you asking you tonight for peace and discernment. We just ask you for wisdom as we make decisions that will be pleasing to you. Dear Lord, we just ask you to be with all the families who have hurt and pain going on right now. Ask that you remember the Conway Fire Department, the Johnson family, and others. Remember the family who lost a young one in the fire. There's been a lot of suffering and strife. We just ask that you comfort those of our staff who've been sick. We also ask if you could send us a little rain, we'd be most grateful. In your great and heavenly name we pray, amen. All right, pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I apologize again for my attire. I've had a day. It's been eventful. Appreciate all the council being here, seeing all members present. The purpose of this meeting tonight is to discuss ordinance 2026 PDO-3, which is a conversion of the Vilonia Waterworks to Public Water Authority. This has been worked on by the Water Authority or the Waterworks since 2022. We had a 2-hour or an hour work session, I forget, 2 or 3 months back. Council was aware of it probably 2 months before we got to that point, because I did make them aware of it during the meeting, I think in April or May. They had a 2-hour debate on this topic during our last council meeting. There's been a lot of work, a lot of discernment by the council and everything, and I want everybody to know there's nobody trying to hide or do anything. This has been out here in plain open view for 3 or 4 months, and it's actually been worked on since 2022. The state of Arkansas has looked at it. Appreciate our attorney being here tonight, our city attorney. He's looked at it for probably 3 months. This meeting was requested to be called by the council, and we're here tonight, and we'll have some more discussion on that. With that, I'll open it up for the council. I'm kind of a mediator in this situation.
I guess we go ahead and read it if you want, there, Mayor.
All right. Miss Cindy, I got your name from bottle of water.
2026-PDO-03, an ordinance by the City of Vilonia, Arkansas, approving the conversion and reconstitution of the Vilonia Waterworks Association Public Facilities Board into a public water authority to be known as Southeast Fulton County Public Water Authority in accordance with ACA 4-35-201, declaring an emergency and for other purposes. Whereas the City of Vilonia, Arkansas, the city, previously authorized the creation of the Vilonia Waterworks Association Public Facilities Board, the PFB, pursuant to applicable Arkansas law and city ordinance. And whereas the PFB has provided water services to the residents within and surrounding the city for many years, and whereas the PFB desires to convert and reconstitute itself as a public water authority pursuant to the provisions of Arkansas Code annotated 4-35-201, and whereas the proposed conversion will allow the entity to operate more efficiently, access additional financing opportunities, and continue providing reliable water service to its customers. And whereas the PFB has completed and approved the necessary paperwork and adopted a resolution approving such conversion and has requested approval from the city as required by law. Whereas the City Council of Vilonia, Arkansas finds that the conversion and reconstitution of the PFB into a public water authority is in the best interest of the city, the citizens of the city, and the PFB surrounding service areas. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of Vilonia, Arkansas, Section 1, The City Council hereby approves the conversion and reconstitution of the Vilonia Waterworks Association Public Facilities Board into a public water authority in accordance with the Arkansas Code annotated 4-35-201. Section 2, the Public Water Authority shall be known as the Southeast Faulkner County Public Water Authority. Section 3, the conversion shall include all rights, powers, duties, assets, mains, hydrants, meters, valves, standpipes, storage tanks, pumping tanks, intakes, wells, purification plants, vehicles, and real property. See Addendum A. All property listed in the most current state audit liabilities, contracts, and obligations of the PFB, which shall continue uninterrupted in full force and effect under the newly constituted Public Water Authority as provided by law. Section 4, the officers and governing body of the newly formed Public Water Authority shall be established in accordance with applicable Arkansas statutes and the organizing documents of the authority. Section 5, the mayor and the city clerk are hereby authorized and directed to execute any and all documents necessary to carry out the intent of this ordinance. Section 6, all ordinances and parts of the ordinances in conflict herewith are hereby repealed to the extent of such conflict. Section 7, the provisions of this ordinance are severable. If any provision hereof shall be held to be invalid, such holding of invalidity shall not affect the validity of applicability of the remainder of the provisions hereof. Section 8, an emergency is hereby declared to exist, and this ordinance being necessary for the immediate preservation of the public peace, health, and safety, shall be in full force and effect from and after its passage and approval.
Move we open for discussion.
Okay, second. Have a motion second to open discussion on PO 03 is read. Start your discussion, sir.
First of all, I want to say thank you, Trey, Josh, and Clint. Oh, see, Clint's not here, is he? Okay. And our attorney as well, Justin, for working on this, trying to answer all of our questions as a council and a body. I appreciate the addendum, like we discussed in there, and the rewording of some of that to include all the piping and hydrants and everything to clarify that y'all own all of it and none of it falls back on the city. That's all I got.
All right, Mike, you got anything?
I don't have anything really to speak to the ordinance itself. I do want to echo, just a couple things that I did have a few citizens reach out to me within the last 24 hours, and being that I'm elected to represent them, I do want to just echo what they have told me. They don't have a problem with the ordinance that I've heard. I haven't heard anything negative about it. But the question was, I guess it looks to them maybe a little suspicious that we're here at an emergency meeting. I'm saying that because I'm echoing what my constituents have shared with me. And so, I know this being an ordinance, if, this is going to be read 3 times, if we're going to, where we're going to go from here with it. But I wanted to echo that. And so I've been asked, and maybe somebody has some clarity on that for the public's sake, what's the emergency? I know when we was here last week, we was talking about coming back in August, at the August meeting, and taking this matter of business back up. So I just wanted to kind of echo that concern and see kind of if we had a little bit more of an explanation for the public's sake.
Well, I've had a lot of calls on it, but and like I tried to say earlier, this, you and I both agree that we've had a lot of discussion on it.
We have.
And the public meeting or the work session, and I brought it up to y'all 2 months before it even come to the work session. That's all I can say. The council as a body asked me to call this, and I did so.
Right.
I guess to answer, and I've not been in the middle of this, that water's going to be a big deal. I can sit here and tell you cities right now, they're in a lot of trouble, and it would blow your mind, some of them are. Projects to get water supply in take 10 to 15 years. And Vilonia Waterworks has got one major project right now that we need to get cracking on. We're 2 to 3 years out, maybe 5, we're gonna, with the tremendous growth, and I think people forget that this water authority, the Water Works, they serve residents in Pulaski County, they serve residents in White County, they go to the city limits of Conway, basically city limits of Mayflower. I think you've got 11,000 customers. 20% of that base is in the actual city limits of Vilonia. It's turned into a very big water utility. I'm going to give kudos to the water management and their workers and their board. They've had to juggle a lot of balls to keep water in here. If you go back towards Conway, I think y'all added 600 meters in a 12-month period. That puts a lot of strain on that system. We're fed from 2 sources. We've got what's called the original Faulkner-Cleburne line. It comes down through Greenbrier, comes down to the edge of Conway and feeds Mayflower. And we are so blessed that this bunch had the foresight, I guess, 15 years ago now, and it didn't come online until about 4 or 5 years ago. It took 15 years to really get it done. This is the Lone Oak White Public Water Authority. The Lone Oak White Public Water Authority's sole job is to provide water to BB, Ward, I think Jacksonville gets a little off of it. Cabot's looking at coming online. Cabot's got some financial issues, they'll have to line out to get online. I'm trying to think but it's a big deal. And we're lucky to get water from that. So we're fed from the east side, and we're fed from the west side. The Faulkner-Cleburne line right now has a tremendous amount of stress upon it. Conway's taking 1 million gallons a day off of it. They may try to go to more. Conway's got their own set of issues right now they're having to deal with, and they're serious. Greenbrier's being fed off of that line. City of Guy, City of Mayflower, and the management team over there at the water department has done an excellent job of juggling balls to make sure that side of the system and those cities that are on that system are still able to get water. The Lone Oak White line has been a blessing. They're going to have another big project ahead, the Lone Oak White Authority. They're going to have to put a second line. We all know the growth that's coming on in BB. Cabot comes on board, that's going to add another level. One of the big projects that Vilonia Water Association will have, they have 2 taps into the Lone Oak White line. One of them's over there in the El Paso region, and one of them is up north near Mount Vernon. To be able to utilize that line tap up in Mount Vernon is going to require a pretty good sized project to bring water in down 36. It'll come down in there somewhere, and it'll supply Holland, Mount Vernon, as well be able to backfill water here into Vilonia. And Vilonia is the nerve center for the entire operation. Anything that even goes to the city limits of Conway or Mayflower, some of that pressure will come from this system, the big tank up here and the other smaller tanks they have. So I'm not an expert on it, but that's what I'm being told. Financing is getting hard to come by. You read the papers, federal government, state government are cutting things right and left. To be able to get some funding, I think that time is of the essence for them. It's my opinion. Like I said, I haven't had this is not a Preston Scroggin event. I've just listened. And they have worked on this since 2022. They've vetted it through the ANRC. And like I said, I brought y'all up to speed 4 or 5 months ago about where we were headed. I do think that there is an urgency there on water, making sure, because if we decided tonight that they could undertake this one project that'll help our system, we're probably looking a dream world 5 years, probably more realistically 8 to 10 years. That's just how things move. Time to get engineers, and you have to get the environmentals and secure the funding. So that's my take on it. Josh, if I said anything, that pretty much.
You're right on track. The faster we get this done, the better off we are.
And I too, Mike, have had calls, and you and I have had our share, but I do believe in transparency and trying to go forward, and I think you and I will agree, this has been out there.
Yes, it is. and I've told them that.
Yeah, and when I retire, I'm gonna be a stickler, I'm gonna watch the meetings, they're important to me.
Me too.
Well, you know what I'm saying, I'm gonna try to keep up with what's going on around. But, that being said, I guess that's my take on it. I know there was some misinformation out on social media. I can't control that. I always ask everybody, ask questions, by all means, that's what it's here for. This is still a little old, small area, and we're not like one of these big towns, and ask the question. But that's my take on it. That helped Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I just think.
I agree with you.
Good
I've
to
had a lot
put
of-
it out there, 'cause,
Yeah.
yeah, you know, by what I understand on this, as far as the ordinance goes, this is gonna free the water company up to be able to obtain funding that they can't obtain tied into our assets.
Correct.
Yeah, and that's, I think,
Well, you gotta think about it too, I mean, with them being tied to Vilonia, and we're only at 20% of their customer base, they can, in essence, only use 20% of their assets to draw funding on bonds. And when you look at adding these water lines, I mean, I don't know what the estimated cost on this new one's coming up, but I know Conway's talking almost $1 billion to add them a new water line all the way down in a treatment plant. I mean, you're talking, these projects can get expensive. So the better bond rates they can get by able to leveraging better assets, I'm all for it.
and for what it's worth, as far as I'm concerned, I've been here in the city government for 5 years now. And so I don't have the tenure that several of these others have, and I may be totally wrong and out of order here. But as far as the 5 years that I've been here, other than appointing the board to that water company and having a good working relationship, the council's got nothing, has had really nothing to do in the governance of that water company. I mean, we have a good working relationship, and the mayor appointed the board, the water board. But to Mr. Craig's point down there, yeah, we're only 20% of the entire water district. So, I think you have to take all that into consideration as to why have this ordinance. I do think it's a viable concern from the public of, hey, how come there's an emergency? How come we're rushing in, have an emergency meeting? But I do think that's the whole crux of why we're having this discussion. So I just wanted to echo that
Well,
out.
I echo what we said earlier. I mean, we've discussed this, I guess, for 4 months, that's all I got.
I think that's the point. We've been echoing it 4 months and we've known about it a while. And now I support the ordinance and the emergency clause. I don't particularly like emergency clauses, I'll be honest with you. But in this case, yes, because if we don't have the emergency clause, now we are looking at, what is it, July, August, September, October, before this thing would actually ever go into effect.
Well, it'd be that.
It could be longer.
It could be longer.
2-3 readings.
Yes.
And I think
Well,
to
yeah, there you
echo,
go.
So it could be the first of the year.
Because without the emergency ordinance, once we pass it, it's 90 days into effect.
and Stephen and Mike helped me on this, I've had a lot of calls, there's no changes on the rates, no rates change. Nothing changes. Go ahead, your question.
This emergency session and the vote, you said it speeds things up. What does it expedite exactly?
Financing on the extra
Water.
water supply, which is
And they've got a lot of paperwork to do as well,
And
too.
so what's the struggle? I mean, just
the struggle right now is they're tied with Vilonia, RLMI and everything, the average, and once again, the council correct me on this, is it 71,000 or 75,000?
All that asset's gotta be taken out of Vilonia Waterworks name and put into this public facility board and everything. So that's gonna take them some time as well of getting all that transfer of deeds and everything over. So again, we drag it out further and further, we can miss opportunities for good bonds, good rates on those bonds, which in turn saves our customers, right? I mean, I've been reading some stuff too, and I don't know how the validity of all of it, but there's talks of the bond rates going up next year that I've read. We don't want to keep dragging out further where we do get those. When you start talking about multi-million-dollar projects, 0.5% is a lot of money.
I think this is a little side deal. Water's always fascinating me. The systems are interrelated, what they can turn here and you can bring water up from Little Rock if you had to in a severe emergency. This state's experiencing population growth, and it's experiencing a lot of it. And we've never been used to that, and we've never been used to that on our water resources. Water is going to become as valuable as oil. I know some of y'all have read the paper, and I'm trying to be nice to some of our brethren cities, not throwing Conway or any, they're not the only ones. There's some others. And you've got to think really far ahead. And the hurdles that get placed in front of you on the project are mind-boggling. Some of these little sidewalk projects that you've seen us do, by the time you have to check off all the boxes and go through all this and that, you can get awarded a grant, and it could be 3 years before you get to break dirt. And water's fixing to be a big deal. We've been blessed here. Like I said, I'm not going to throw. There's some cities in this county and some of the counties around us, they're in a world of hurt. And they're 10 to 15 years out. Stephen alluded to them, not picking on Conway, but I think the last estimate I seen on their new treatment plant was $250 million. I think the pipeline was between 5 and 600 million. They are able to get the allotment from Garrett's Ferry from the Corps of Engineers. We're blessed here that Vilonia Water is part of the Lone Oak White Authority, has an allotment guaranteed from Garrett's Ferry Lake. I don't know how much more Garrett's Ferry can take. I'm not Central Arkansas Water, which runs Little Rock's water deal. They put in for an allotment, I think, of 45 million gallons out of there. I don't think they're very close to getting that project funded. But you watch what's going to happen with water. It's going to be an amazing issue. And I think it's just because of the state's growth. I'm sure some of these smaller areas out in some of these smaller counties, but even those areas that are relying on groundwater depletion has become an issue. A lot of the towns, Cabot's problem right now, Cabot will have to go on the Lone Oak White Authority. I don't know what that's going to cost them. Right now, they're getting their water from what I would basically call deep irrigation wells south of their town, where you get into the delta, which is a little bit different on water. Those wells are not able to supply what they need. And I think you'll see a lot of those small towns over in the eastern part of the state and other, they're going to have to look at some different options. Just a side deal, and I'll shut up. They need to start allowing them to build more dams. We need more water in town. Just my years of being around and watching it. I'm not saying dam every beautiful little stream. If it's a good one, I know the Buffalo safe and all that, but we need some more water, major water in town. It's bad. But I will get back, Josh. There is no changes, no rate changes. Wait a minute, please.
All right, so there's no rate changes and we use bonds. How are the bonds get paid for? Are we going to
Usually those bonds, and I'm not an expert on this, Josh, you want to step up on your financing?
So at some point when bonds come in, we will have to look at rates, and that's going to be through ARC. So what we'll do, we'll have to do a rate study. That doesn't mean there will be one, but it doesn't mean there won't be one. But I can guarantee you if the bonds are as high as we don't get this to get the cheaper ones, there definitely will be a rate increase. Hopefully we can keep that from happening a couple more years at least. But just keep in mind, we buy water, when those rates go up, which everybody, they're all PWAs too, they're trying to keep their rates low, but when they go up, we're gonna have to go up. Yes, sir.
So if this goes through, that 5-year timeline that you're hoping for, that gets us ahead of the curve, is happening.
So we're probably 2 years behind right now. So the faster that we can, because we still have to, first off, we have to go through ARC and USDA to get that. We're gonna be up crunched by then. Maybe it goes in 2 months, maybe they can do it overnight. That's gonna be up to them to convert all this stuff over. But we cannot even start until we get this signed. So the faster we can do that, the faster it's gonna speed that timeline up, the faster we can get the line run down. Because right now, we have about 5 million gallons a day that we have, that we can get, that we have allocation for it, but we can't get it, okay, so they're gonna have to build these bigger lines. We need to be ahead of them, so when they get their part done, them being Laurel Black Community Water, when they're done, we're ready to take that work, because we're already at about 2.7 Sunday, is what we're pumping Sunday, so you can see we're picking up fast.
And I will, information is good. A lot of times when you've got the state and federal government, and I experience on other bonds, they will sometimes give you some leeway. They will work some grants and things in there to help. So I agree with you. That don't mean there won't, I can't sit here and tell you there won't be, but I do think with the federal government, state government looking at it and what's going on here with all the growth in this 2 or 3 county ring, I do think they'll give us some grant, or they will give them some grant money and some leeway. The other thing is, the state of Arkansas, not throwing the legislature under the bus, they're requiring every water and sewer department in the state to do a rate survey. Is it every 5 years?
Yes.
So, they've made us do one here, we come out pretty good on that, for some reason that they are requiring it. And if you're an avid reader of Democrat Gazette, I'm not an online guy, but I still have to read it online. They had an article in there here a while back, there's 23 cities right now that are going to lose their turnback and everything else because they didn't have a rate study. City of Apollo up in Conway County, I happened to read a news story on that other day, they had their rate study and their sewer and water, I think they went up 30%. But you know, they're required now, that's a new law from the state.
How long does those bonds, that term last for payment?
It generally depends on, you know, like I said, sometimes they will throw a little bit of grant money, some leeway in there, but it's an average of about 25 to 30 years. And if you, some of these utilities, and they've been good at doing this before Josh got there, we've tried to do that here as well, on a little bit of bonded indebtedness we have, you can pay that forward. You know, if you're a good steward, like you bought a truck, you know, you want to pay it off. This utility and this city has been really good about, they had it, you know, to pay it off. You cut that interest.
And no different than was us with sales tax revenue. It increases every year as we have more population. Same with them, as we get more houses and businesses in the city, they get more customers, which means that bond could pay off quicker as well, because now they got more people feeding into that bond.
But you average 25 to 30 years.
Well, Mr. Mayor, it is, somebody said something about taxes, and I just want to make sure I understand this as well. If we pass this tonight, it is separating the city government from the water company. So rates, bonds, the water bonds that they own, the city will be, the city government, as far as when you think of taxes, will have nothing to do with that. Their liabilities is theirs, their debts are theirs, their assets are theirs, and it will be separate from us. So I wanted to say that from the aspect that someone said something about taxes.
Okay.
That will have nothing to do with that, as far as I'm concerned. Is that right?
Correct. Taxes are off the table on that. All right, further discussion, questions?
I just did want to kind of echo, or can't
You had a good
Piggyback.
statement.
So, along with the grants and all that, there's actually legislation right now that our congressional legislators are working, kind of get questions about. They're kind of changing how these grants are working on that, and the administrations can pull them. So that's, in my view, the reason we should hurry up and get this done. This grant could be here right now. They're drying up already, and the next administration could come in and say, no, we're not going with those grants anymore. They're gone. So it's coming.
And we've seen that happen with a lot of our municipal projects, you know, different street fundings and the ditches and all that, bridges, they've been pulling those grants.
The federal government is in in the state a little bit. I know we've had to deal with some of it on the senior program. They're cutting funds. They got their hands full. They've spent some money in the wrong places, just my opinion. but, they're 41.6 trillion in debt. And, you know, I'm proud of this city, we really have no debt. I brought that up the other day, we don't really hope for a whole lot, we kind of pay for it as we go. I don't make everybody happy, but it's a paving project or, yeah. Other discussion from the council, anybody have anybody else?
Let's see. There's no other discussion, I'll make a motion.
All right,
If there's no other discussion, I'll make a motion to waive the second and third reading so we can vote on this tonight. Second.
okay, we have a motion and second to waive the second and third readings of 2026 PDO-3. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All right, motion is carried. All right,
I also move, since there is an emergency clause attached to this, that we pass the emergency clause as well. So that it will go into effect tomorrow.
Wouldn't we have to vote on the ordinance first?
Or, I'm sorry, correct. I apologize. Mr.
That would be a
Mentos, thank you for
separate
keeping me in line.
all right. You have a motion to that effect?
Well, we can vote on the, wait, that, yeah.
Okay.
I move that we pass 2026 PDO-3. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor to pass 2026 PDO-3. All those in favor signify by saying
We
aye.
have to do it.
We gotta do a voice vote on it.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
All right, Stephen?
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
All right, 6-0-2026 PDO-03 has passed. All right, now we'll entertain a motion of emergency clause.
I move we pass the emergency clause.
I'll second.
Have a motion and second that the emergency clause be added to that, correct?
That's
All
correct.
right.
And what this emergency clause does is it basically allows this to take effect immediately so the water company can do their business instead of 90 days. It's a statute that the state of Arkansas allows us to be able to use. I just wanted to say that for the public.
And again, I agree with Joe on it. I don't always like emergency clauses, but I agree with him on this one.
All right, we have a motion and second to pass the emergency clause on PDO 03. I guess that'd be a voice vote again.
That's correct. Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
All right, 6 ayes, emergency clause is passed. PDO 03 will be in effect on the proper signatures from Ms. Mylon and myself, and we will accomplish that tonight, and we'll move forward from there. Appreciate everybody's questions. Apologize for my tire again. This will probably, I'm getting close to the end of my rope. But I do want to tell the public, if you ever got questions or you need to know something, and you got nothing to hide, call me and we'll sniff it out if you smell it's coming. And I appreciate everybody's calls and concerns. We had a bunch of them yesterday and today, and we've answered them. Council, I appreciate your 4 or 5 months and your deliberation. I want to tell you, y'all deliberated this very well. And I appreciate it. With that, entertain a motion for adjournment.
I move we adjourn.
All right, so we're adjourned.